Morning, guys. Eric and Yelly again. Today, it's going to be another weird video, but it's also about a tool review. And this is not going to be the tool review for it, but the tool I got to review it's a Fnirsi, a battery tester. We're going to take this up to the garage. We're going to put it through a back alley beating. I mean, we're going to test it just like you would. Yeah, I mean, you know, somebody. But the whole story is, I mean, I feel weird coming on saying I'm going to review something because, I mean, to me, I mean, I was there whenever Metallica released the Black Album. I mean, you know, when you're going to call somebody a sellout, it's like, I mean, this is probably 101. But this is the first tool company I actually asked if they had anything to review. I said, I have a YouTube channel. I can take a look at it. So they sent me one. I already happen to have one, so I'm going to give one away next week whenever I do the review of this. I mean, we're going to put it through everything. We're going to put it through, my camera's on backwards. I keep thinking the box is upside down, but backwards is backwards. Okay. So, I'm going to be giving one away. This is the one I had. The other one's sealed, not even open. It's a low budget tool. It's in the $30 range. I mean, we have things like, yeah, if you follow my channel, we use oscilloscopes, we use voltmeters, we use different things to do a lot of the same things that it does. But what it is, it's a battery tester, a starter tester, and a load tester, and it'll test your alternator, just like one of them things at the parts stores. The reason that I asked them, because I have a lot of their stuff that I use on the bench that never, ever has been in a garage yet. It's a company that I don't see a lot of in the garage settings, but I mean, they do make 16-bit scopes. You know, are they worth trying out? I don't know yet, but I have a history of their stuff on the bench to use to solder. I mean, you'll never find a better soldering gun. I mean, it's the heart of my battle bag. I'll show you that in a second, but I don't want you to think like, you know, that just because I'm doing a tool review, I mean, I'm trying to, if I do one, I want to definitely have something to give away, hopefully that same product. I mean, so one for me, one for you, you know, and that's how it goes. And so I encourage you to make your own videos and review every tool, every part for an appliance you buy. There's a demand for people to review these. If you just, you know, less than you think, then you're going to be able to pick from things to review. This, I did not pick from something to review. It's the first company I ever asked. I said, hey, you have anything automotive? Sent me this. So best thing you could do to help me out if you follow my channel or if you want to support me somehow, is just click on the link, because that's going to just let know Fnirsi, you know, they got a couple clicks off of me, you know, so hopefully we could do more in the future, but it's a company that I like. It's not like it's, you know, I try to find good tools on other review platforms that would save you guys a lot of money and be as good as something that maybe I have, like recently the coolant pressure tester. That was $100 cheaper than a power built, which a power built isn't very expensive, but, you know, it didn't work out 100%. So that was just something, it was a tool that I thought, hey, you get to pick it from a pull. Yeah, I'll try this. If it's good, maybe it's something I could pass on. It was only $60. Had some things that the power built did not. So, I mean, if it would have been a great tool, I didn't need it, but I would have loved to pass that information on. Now this, I did actually ask them for something. This way he sent me. We're going to put it through everything, just like you would. I mean, we're going to be knocking on neighbors' doors and asking, you know, check our car's charging system, but probably literally. But next, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to show you the history and why I like the company so much. And you don't see much in automotive use. The Gibby, I've seen him use, I think it was a graphic multimeter, in fact, but I mean, he was doing an RC test with it and it looked pretty damn good. You know, so I mean, Fnirsi's are crossing over a little bit. They fit right into the budget channel. I mean, that's why it was a company you know, of course, I didn't write Snap on an email asking. I mean, I wouldn't, because what value would that be to somebody that's just starting out? They build a good budget tool right in the line, just like all my other reviews. I mean, it's a good budget tool. You know, I think they could cross over to the garage pretty good. That's going to be the next video. This video is just a crossover. I hope I don't lose you guys going from bench to garage, because the bench is no more than automotive electronics on the bench. I mean, I used to repair these until they got too complicated. This is an old Nitro Fury Bitcoin miner, or Skyrim Fallout player. They're outdated, but that's about when I quit. I didn't have an oscilloscope. So everything that I use on the bench is the same version that I use in the garage. So that's enough. It was just hard coming up with the saying in order to follow to try to get this out there. But I don't want to lose you in the concept, because we're not getting too advanced. We're not going to fix graphic cards. I fix PlayStations. I have no interest in making a channel on fixing PlayStations. But it's automotive electronics on the bench, sensor building that we're going to try in the garage. But this, I'm going to just show you why I like the company and why I think they would be a great company in automotive. A lot of their automotive products are cheap, but their bench products are not, and they got a very good reputation. So if there's some crossover point, I'd like to see it. All right, guys, let me flip this around and show you what I mean. Okay, guys, first let me tell you a little bit how I found out Fnirsi works, how their system works. All the programming on these is the same, the firmware upgrades, and if you could manage the menu on one of them, you can manage the menu on just about anything they build. But this is probably the most used tool on the bench. And what it is, it's an LCR meter. It'll test transistors. It'll test inductors, resistors, capacitors. This is great for sorting. This is great for checking transistors. But most importantly, I like putting together these little kits sometimes. These are notorious. You could turn this into an electronic exercise that's going to help you in a car and on the bench. Sometimes the boards are bad. Check for the continuity of the board. Check it out and make a couple test points. Have at it. Sometimes the components fail. Test them. If you're building a circuit, and this is where I got to put, as far as programming goes, I don't go no further than Arduino or Raspberry Pi, copy and paste. That's it. I'm not getting into programming. That's all. You could change some of the parameters, but I copy and paste from a library. So even if you've never ever programmed a microcontroller board, it is super simple to do. The kits are very cheap. And then hopefully by the end of this video, you're going to see some cool things you could do with a, $12 board with accessories. These things are usually around 10, 15 bucks. This is a waveform signal generator. You could use your scope on it just to, get familiar with the scope. And it's fun doing it with something you built. Even though I have like 5 waveform generators, all your scopes have a waveform generator. I have several scopes. I really don't need this, but it's fun testing something you built. If you read the reviews and some of the components fail, test them. That's what this will do. This is very cheap, but if you want to get into their big game, this is the bigger LCR meter. It's much more expensive, and it has the Kelvin clips. To get any better than this, you'd have to have a rack unit. So Fnirsi doesn't just build bottom end. Like in automotive so far, we're not seeing nothing huge end, but they build some very, very, very good bench electronics equipment. This is a mid-range. It's a cool voltmeter, and it has an amp clamp. It has a graphing mode on it, and one of the cool things about it is you can measure voltage and amperage at the same time. It's neat. I'm still getting, I've been using this on the bench more than in the garage, but it has a home in the garage, I believe. I'm going to try it out up there. Couple simple things, because this was down. DC amp clamps are very hard especially for cheap ones. They're very hard to get accurate readings that don't fluctuate. This was pulling out, even out of a cheap bench power supply, it was going down like 3 millivolts or 3 milliamps rather, millivolts, milliamps, but it was holding steady whenever I changed it. you know, there was a couple amperages that was a little bit, you know, off, but very, very close. So, I mean, I'm impressed with it so far. Now I'm going to show you the main reason I like Fnirsi. Let me get this out of the way, and I'm going to show you, but I just don't want you to think we're getting into crazy stuff. And what we're getting into this for is even using the Arduinos on the bench. These are pulse width modulated machines. I mean, if you want to check some signals, that's what I'm saying, stick around this video, because one of the automotive tools, you might be surprised which one it is, but it came down from the garage to the bench today. Next video, we're taking something that the bench, the Fnirsi, we're taking it into the garage. We're going to see how they hold up in the automotive world. All right, guys, the strong point and the reason why I found ended up finding Fnirsi is I've had soldering guns. Some of these go back to the 80s, 90s, and the biggest one in here is variable, goes up to 20 watt. These things are all obsolete now. Well, sometimes I still use the solder sucker, and this was from Harbor Freight. This is the actual, what is it, Shoemaker or Schneider? But this is a pretty good gas gun. I mean, I have no complaints with this, and I've had it for years. But higher wattage ones, cheaper on Amazon, have made all this obsolete. So I was looking for a higher wattage guns. And when you find some, that's what I'm going to show you. Some of the ones that I found on the cheap outperform anything in this box. And I fixed a lot of guitar amplifiers and built a lot of guitar effect pedals with this stuff. This was always available. This was considered good stuff back in Radio Shack and Weller. I mean, now, you know, a little bit outdated. I'm sorry if this is skipping along, but it's the best way to do it quick and get as much in as we can. All the soldering irons in that box are obsolete. The hardest hitting one was 20 watt. It was selectable between 10 and 20 watt. Now, I've done a lot of wiring for most of my life with them guns and that irons, and they you know, that was all there was, and they perform well. But nowadays, in the garage environment, if you're using an extension cord, you're losing heat. You're not going to be able to solder like you can on the bench. So the idea is to have something to take with you, like that gas one that doesn't rely on an extension cord. Now, I replaced that gas one with this Iroda. This is one of my favorite guns, even though the Fnirsis are much more expensive on a car. This is a very, very good gun. It stays hot, easy to use. But the first one I had wouldn't even light. I had to send it back. The second one, you know, going on 2 years, no problem, heavy use. But this, you could build things like this. I mean, these are perfectly fine for that. This is a clone. I've seen Dennis on the Gadgets playlist. He had something like this, and I started looking into them. So, I mean, it's a pretty good. This is the only tip I've used from it so far. It comes with 5 more, and it gets pretty hot. This is a 60 watt gun, so it's already 3 times stronger than, you know, what I use most of my life. So to me, this is a luxury, and it's a budget soldering gun. You could take this right to the car with you, and 60 watts, I'm not sure of the tip sizes, but yeah, with this one right here, you're going to have a good chance at soldering the battery lug on. That 20 watt one, you know, even if you didn't use an extension cord, there's no way. So this and this will carry you all through automotive. That's why when I do a video, I don't want to use a gun that isn't out of a budget price range. And this is definitely an awesome budget gun. This is definitely awesome. I'm sure there's more out of there. They make these for Makitas. They make these for, this is a Dewalt with a Dewalt clone battery, and even the battery life. I mean, this is perfectly acceptable on a bench or under the hood. I mean, I like it. You know, cheap. This cheap, and they work great. There's a lot of, you know, ones that don't work too good, but I know these two. You know, these two work great. They're excellent for automotive use. The gas ones, sometimes they get too hot. This, you could regulate the heat a little bit faster. It'll cool down quicker. If you need this to cool down, you just have to play with the gas valve. But for as small as this is, it burns hotter than the one I showed you in the red box, the Harbor Freight one. This will actually burn hotter if you want it to. Decent. This guy's also a signal generator. Like I said, we have several signal generators. Our own scope is a signal generator. But sometimes it's cool. After you assemble something, these are low pressure, enjoying yourself like you're fishing, soldering practice. Nothing more. But it's cool when you're done. You could use it for a power supply, and you could use it for a signal generator. It's not a very high amp power supply, but it's pretty neat. Something you just put together, plug it in, give it to somebody. Hopefully do it with a kid. Something like that. These are very easy to do. And it's a fun project for, guaranteed under $20. All right, guys, now here's where I came to kind of really like Fnirsi. That's why I'm going to root for this battery tester whenever we do test it. Now, this is just a deployment bag. And inside, I have a couple compartments. This is I use on, be more like guitar amplifiers. If I do motherboards for computer, graphic cards, anything like that, that's, probably can be done with that Dewalt clone, but, or if I'm not around a power source. Now, the thing about USB powered soldering irons, you always have to be close to USB power. This is 100 watt. This is the HSO2A. They're set at 80, but they're 100 watt irons. And you could turn them up to 100. It has 3 settings. This will weld battery terminal on. They have different tips. I mean, very good, very high quality. I mean, if there is a better gun, I'm not advanced enough to know that there would be a difference in anything better than this. But this was around, $89, $100, somewhere in there. Depends what you get with it. But it's a very good iron for super critical non-automotive repairs. That's why, this has never been in a garage. It would be great for under the hood, but it would be overkill. This is its little brother. This is more for fine. This is the HSO2B. It's the same style, but it's got a micro tip. They all come with different tips. This is also 100 watt. So my whole idea of having the little battle bag is if I have to do something that's not around power, or as I said before, whenever you solder, the longer your extension cord is, the less heat you have. So I made this bag. Also, it's my kind of style. I don't use a soldering station because most of the soldering I do, well, let's say 50-50 on the bench or wherever I'm at. But this fits in the bag quite nice. The extra tips fit in the bag. I got my little container that has some copper sponge to clean the tip. It uses a very heavy type C to type C. And you usually plug it in this compartment. I have the 100 watt charger. I have 2. These one come with each gun. But it's a 100 watt charger you get with it. Excellent soft cord. I'm not going to bother to put it back in right now. I just want to show you, why this has been part of my inside here is the flux. I got the tip tinner in the bottom there also. Vietnam era bag, 3 different kinds of solder. And then I use it just like on the station. It's like a crude station. You can pull the solder out as you go. You can put all three different sizes out at once if you wanted to. But the big thing is why it's the battle bag is in the back inside the Crown Royal bag. Just in case any bangs hit, this water bottle protector isn't going to stop it. I got a power bank that's capable of putting out 100 watts. It's very good power bank. Even has, you know, an AC outlet on it. It also has that if you're measuring the output of anything, it'll actually measure the output and what charging speed you're at. You know, so this goes in the back. I don't need any external power source. Just run the USB around the back and right to the iron. So it's, when I was looking for a top quality one that would fit in this bag, that's how I first found Fnirsi as a top end product, not a lower end automotive product like we're going to be tested. So that's why I did, you know, reach out to them, just because I respect this bench equipment so much. You know, there's a lot to be desired in the instructions. That's why it's going to be more of a hands-on test. They explain to you more on the screen than they do in the manual. That would be one of the drawbacks with them. So next, I'm going to take this away and I'm going to show you what automotive tool made it to the bench, show you something really cool in the next video. We're going to review this thing and somebody's going to win one. All right, let me flip the camera around, get something set up for you. All right, guys, the tool I brought down from the garage, we're going to use it on the bench today. It's a MicSig VATO. This is a tool, just like any scope, is going to fix a car most of the time on 2 channels. Today, I wanted to give it, you know, I seldom get a chance to use 4 channels. Using it on the bench, we're staying with DC and we're staying low frequency. So, I mean, that's what this thing was made for. But what we're going to do, I wanted to get all 4 channels because sometimes, I mean, it's just good practice to be able to manage 4 channels. On a car, you're going to fix, you know, a good bit of the problem, like 70% with two channels. That's what makes H-scope so deadly. On like an HS 512 or a 502. But whenever you have 4 channels, you have to keep out of them as you go. 4's harder to manage than, you know, what you're going to be using most of the time. So I wanted to give it something good with 4 channels. What on the bench, you know, is a good source. Well, the best source to get 4 channels off of on the bench is just one LED. On cars, we're doing sometimes 1 channel, 2 channels, seldom 3. I mean, rarely do you need all 4. But it's good to have them there. It's good to be able to manage them. Nice controlled environment like on the bench. We're going to get four channels off this little guy. If I did say this was a single LED, I lied to you. This is actually 3 LEDs in one. It's 3 circuits. We need 3 resistors to power it. 3 different colors, red, the blue, and the green. But it's an easy way to get 3 signals off, and we could get one measurement before the supply voltage, before the resistor, something like that. And it's a good time if you have any kind of new meter, anything you're playing with, even your old meter, it's just good fundamentals. Take voltage drops across the resistor. Try different resistors. I mean, it's just a simple multicolor LED. These come in packs. I mean, these are under $10 and you get 100 of them with the resistors, 2 different resistors. For the blue, we need a higher value resistor. The Arduino kit that we're going to use to run it, it's running them all at, I think, 220 ohm. And the kits that come with these, it's running the blue at 330, something like that. That's where this comes in handy. If you have old resistors laying around and you want to play with them, this got the transistor tester in it right now, but you just put them in here. If you have random, that's what I say, it's one of the most used tools I have. If I find a resistor I don't know the value of, it's easier for my eyes to plug it into this, just see exactly what it is, and put it in the bin. There's up there in the corner, there's a, you know, whole lid full of need going through. You guys, a little bench like this, I mean, space is always a concern. I just put the VATO up here in this compartment, and then these are just display. These go in the pegboard and supermarkets or department stores. One of them went out of business. Somehow I ended up with a couple. Then I just put my tablet right there in front of me. So that way I have the scope up here, and then I have the display right here. It's not taking up any of my bench. Pretty cool setup. I mean, this is one of them Cobalt tables. They're not very wide. It would be nice if this thing was like a foot long, like wider. No, not wider depth. Right, guys. What we're going to use first, this is an EleGoo Uno R3. It's not even real Arduino. That and this come through. It uses Arduino programming though, but it's not an Arduino brand. It's an Uno R3 EleGoo. It comes with this breadboard. This is nothing more than two of these together that I've rigged up for power. But the thing is, we're making leads for everything. This is where we're saving a lot of money and being able to use scopes down here without making it a big problem. If you were using 4 channels automotive oscilloscope test leads down there, that's going to be a lot of room on the bench that you don't have, and they're going to be everywhere. This is 20 gauge wire, and what I use is just these straight pins. I solder them into the end of the wire, cut them off, and then shrink wrap them. They work perfect on the boards, gets the signals good, and this is 4 of them. And one of them I even soldered a mini grabber on. So it takes up minimal room. And I tried a lot of wire till I found things I like for test leads wire. This BNTECHGO, it's pretty good stuff. This is what this is. This is a 20 gauge. I have it in 14, I have it in 12 too. This is parallel wire. I just keep them together till I have to split them. And I have some separate wire, but it's good wire, guys. Most of the stuff's for RC cars. That's where it's hard to find just good test lead wire. And this is, main uses for RC cars, just like everything else. But it does make excellent test lead wire. I could attest to that. This, guys, you could use any kind of wire. It's just a matter of convenience and, what kind of working space you have. And the thing with the EleGoo, it's already programmed. That was like lesson number 4. They make the pulse width control modulate and all LED and change colors between red, blue, and green. So we want to see them pulses, basically. So we're going to get them. And this is lesson number 4, I believe. If you get these, they come with lessons. You could go download the tutorial and the videos. If you just go through them, that's fine. But you could also, if you go through them with a scope, you're going to learn a lot more. And then for lesson number 1 is download the software. I think you're up to 3 to make that light, 3 is to make a single LED light. Number 2 is to make the light on the internal board blink. You're copy and pasting code. Don't think it's going to be a program and anything. And once you do it, the microcontroller holds that. I don't even need to hook this up to a laptop. I'm going to just plug it into the breadboard, and then we're going to plug 4 channels of this scope wire into it. See what kind of signals we get out of it. All right, just the basic lesson number 4. The Uno is just changing the colors in between the red, the green, and the blue and mixing them together at an even rate that's coming out of the R3 board. Now, what we're seeing is the light change, and we can't see the pulses, but you're still at a good point. Let me turn the light back on a little bit here. And this, there is a multicolor LED. It comes with the basic starter kit. So you could do all this. The resistors come with it. It's all part of it. Now, if you have your multimeter and you wanted to start before you even hook up your scope, this is where everything starts with the voltage drops. Whenever you check across the resistor, but see how the number's moving? You could go by the min and the max scale to see where the forward voltage of this LED is when it turns on. That's all we want to look at. These are going to be all 3. Red, blue, and green are all different forward voltages. So on the scope, or if you wanted to use your multimeter, like I said, you could check the voltage drop going across the resistors. These resistors, this is the green cruddy stuff that interferes with our pulse width signals when you don't want them. We need a resistor with an LED, which leads us back to automotive. We all know that from automotive. But this is what you're looking for whenever it's not an LED, whenever it's the ECU sending or receiving a signal to an actuator or receiving it from a sensor. When this is in that wire, that's what we're actually looking for. So this is working like the ECU, and this is sending three 5-volt signals. The resistors are dropping them, but on a car, could be 3 5-volt signals. You could have a cam, 2 cams and a crank. You're going to have 3 pulse width signals. And the MicSig VATO, I mean, it's right at home for that. This isn't high frequency. We're not going getting an AC. That's what I want to stress. This is putting out 5 volts DC. And you could do all your measurements on DC. It's a good place to get used, especially if you got a newer meter that you wanted to check out, that you wanted to do different tests with, see how much the resistors dropping. This got a pretty neat, but with an LED, sometimes when you're measuring it, you're going to affect its color. But now on the scope, what I'm going to do is put these cables I made, I'm going to put one after each resistor so we could see the forward voltage of when this LED, when red is opening, when green is opening, and when blue is opening. It's going to be 3 different voltages. All right, guys, I have 3 channels just going into the breadboard out of them leads I made with the pins. I'll go and coming out of the scope, what we get is a signal. And then again, there's the VATO right above it. Nice and convenient to save a little space for me anyway. But these are looking like cam and crank signals, or things we see on the car that are pulse width modulated. Alternator duty cycle. I mean, there's a lot of signals that are crossing over, but this is a lot easier to play around with your scope, really, to not be actually using it. This LED isn't broke. We're not trying to fix this LED. It's not in the garage. We're not under the gun. We're just, getting used to things on the scope. There's things that you could add, like, if you figure out some of the things that you want to use a lot, like if you're using your delay or your duty cycle, where you're going to put the duty cycle, I mean, the voltage to change. If you want channel 2, if you want to just put we'll just say the duty cycle high, and then we're going to put min and max voltage. And then you could change it to channel 3, add just duty cycle if you wanted to. In green, you could go back to max voltage and duty cycle. So you're leaving these all down the bottom. I mean, this is your chance to go through all these and play with them, because it's just a simple LED running in a controlled, environment on your board. And then to clear them all, you just clear them all. Little things to dig into like that. The triggers, the different kind of triggers it has. It has pulse width triggers. You could put them on and you could assign them which channel you want it on. Now, this is always going to be pulse in different channels. Sometimes there's not going to be any pulse, like up here on the blue. We're on the blue trigger. But you could define how much you want. The polarity, if it's going positive, negative, the edge trigger, rise, falling edge, dual, you could have rising and falling edge. This is where you pick where your trigger's coming from. Or once you're on the screen, if you simply just click which channel, click the arrows, it's going to take you right to the channel. If this arrow here you see is green, click that. The green is now the trigger. If I wanted it to be on blue, it's now on the blue. If I want it to be on the purple, it's now on the purple. So it's a pretty cool time to get used to all that. All the different settings that are on it pretty cool. Your sample, where to change your bandwidth. It's a good time to get into, like, you could put it on the 50. For this many channels, I believe it's switching already. If you're running 1 or 2 channels, you could get some excellent resolution out of this. But again, not on this. This is a simple pulse width. But it's a good time to get used to things. There's menus. Like for your zoom menu, it's an excellent time to get used to that. Using the triggers well under the zoom menu. There's things on here. If you go back out of the quick menu, go out of zoom, every channel, every reading this thing could take, it'll take at once. It'll give you your frequency. It'll give you your pulse width. You could stop it so you could keep the measurements, let it run again. You could switch a channel to the blue channel, stop. This is every measurement it's capable of taking right now. Your RMS, the highs. You could see the high, the peak. So you could tell the blue is taking, this is where you'd be measuring your forward voltage. You could look at this. You could turn this off. You could use cursors. For the blue channel, you just move it up. 2.73 volts for the blue channel to turn on. Now, if we go down to red and just click the channel, now the cursor's measuring the red channel. The red's the easiest LED to turn on. It's turning on at 1.98 volts. So it's dropping almost a whole volt to turn the red on, up below what it takes to turn the blue on. The green's about half a volt lower than that. But it's just a good time to kick back, take it easy. You're not fighting anything, but you're bringing something that you use in the garage. You got vertical cursors you could use. Same way, click on the different channels, measure your time. This is your cylinder identifiers. Like if you want to get into them, it's hard to do on, that's going to be under the automotive part. But we're still bringing an automotive oscilloscope into the basement, playing around with just a simple LED, just to get, better acquainted with the scope. Okay, guys, what I'm going to try to do is, as I mentioned before, these resistors, these are the green cruddy things in between that screw up our signals. If we take one out, this is what's giving that LED its proper forward voltage. So we're going to take it out so we don't unplug it so we don't do any damage. We're going to pop out this 220. This is for the blue. Before, I think I misspoke the first time. The red is the easiest one to turn on. That's one we have a 330 ohm resistor in. These are both 220s. This is a 1 meg resistor. This should almost, this should really affect with the signal. It's not going to be a total block, but it's also not going to go easy. Now we just want to see on the scope what kind of difference that makes when we plug it in. All right, guys, it looks a little bit different this time, doesn't it? Now the light is just cycling in between red and green. Blue is not even coming on. Red and green are still going as normal. But when we stop and just take a look at, we could check how many volts are left. 2.31 volts. That's not enough to turn on a blue LED. We need upward pretty close to 3 volts. So there's not enough voltage left to turn the blue on to meet its forward voltage requirement. But whenever we take a better look just at how sluggish, how there's a slope, it's building up. It has to pass that high resistance. This is the same thing on a car. If we're looking for a perfect square wave and we see something like this more looks like a current ramp for using an amp clamp. And this is how you would measure with your, not with an amp clamp, but just in general, rise time. Well, we'll click on the blue channel again and just move your cursors. So there are a lot of cool things that you could do with this on the bench. And they, again, same to the quick menu display all. You could see the rise time and the fall time. Then you could compare it with 1/12 microsecond. The rise and fall of the green is going so fast, nanoseconds. So you could definitely use all this information. You can measure with the cursors, but it doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, it's a good time to get used to it on an LED. It's something that you already have, if you have the scope, that is. Any scope you have. H-scope is great. I wanted to use more than 2 channels than HS 512 has. So I used the MicSig VATO, but I'm starting to like the VATO for down here. Leave it down here. It does very good at these lower frequency signals. There's so many things that every scope has that you never get the chance to actually use. You could use the zoom functions. Like I was mentioning before, you could go to where we have green. You could zoom over to where we have red and blue, or where the blue should be, rather. Look how long it's taking the blue to build. When you're on the zoomed in screen, you could see a little bit better over the long term. So it's giving you a view of both. It's pretty decent. I mean, it's a good time to play around with everything this thing got to offer. See, we're still just cycling between the red and the green. The blue, even though we've seen there was like 2.3 volts flowing across the resistor and into the LED, it's just not enough to turn on the blue LED. We need closer to 3. All right, guys, I hope you found that at least a little bit interesting. Something to do on a rainy day. It's winter time, snow day. You can't get out, do anything. I mean, with a little LED. And the scopes, automotive scopes are fine for these pulse width signals. That's what, you're looking for on a car a lot of the time, unless you're in ignition, pressure, something like that. But looking at the difference, and I mean, that's a cool thing about making videos. I went back and seen a couple things I kind of said wrong. The different resistor would have went into the red LED. It has the lowest forward voltage, so we have a higher resistor in there. But on the EleGoo kit, they're all 220 ohm. On the kit that come with the pack of 100 I got, they give you a 330 for the red. But what we're doing, and a couple times I say we're supplying it with the voltage, we kind of are, but the resistor, it's there to limit current. But that's something totally different. But I just wanted to mention that because look at whenever we had the 1 meg resistor in there, look how it looked like a current ramp. That's what, I mean, it was taking a lot of current and it had to build through there. And where did it go? Where did that extra voltage go that wasn't turning on the blue LED? Well, if I'd had the infrared thermometer out, we'd have seen exactly where it went. which, you know, I don't have an infrared camera, but I mean, you could kind of see the use of one of them now. The more you see things like that, you know, on the bench on just a simple LED, I mean, it's pretty cool. Bring the scope in, take some things from the bench out to the garage. I mean, I hope I don't lose you in the transition there. I mean, it's not really transition, but it's like I could build a sensor in the garage, but I think I could build it better on the bench and take it into the garage just because, you know, a little bit better environment for it. But yeah, it's you're going to see things like that. A square wave that looks like that coming out of a car, you're going to know exactly where to go after it. Even though you're measuring voltage, you're going to see that there's, you know, something in between that wire. You know, there's going to be a lot of resistance in there. So you're seeing it turn on slower, you're seeing it actually get voltage. So if you're measuring with a multimeter, you could still catch it. You're going to have less at the end. I mean, that's something all something you could explore with just a breadboard and some probes. I mean, it's cool stuff to do. And the thing is, and that next video, whenever we do review this Fnirsi, this is a very cheap tool, and I'll tell you the reason why I think, I mean, if it works, one of the reasons why I was thinking about getting something like this. I do have the load type. I seldom use it. It's more reliable than the, well, put it this way, if it passes with the load test, and it's a Harbor Freight one, and if it passes with the load test, that battery will start a car. If it passes with this load test of these digital type, it's measuring the internal resistance. So these are a little bit different, but I'll tell you the main reason. If you watch EleGoo's videos, every car he brings in, you'll catch it a lot of times. I believe it's a top don he uses, but it has the little printout. I've been thinking about getting one of them for a while because we all like rushing to the scopes and everything. And I like using like a voltmeter too to confirm a lot of things. But if you could get something for, you know, pretty cheap, and there's all different kinds of brands like this. We're going to just see how this one does. But before you get out your scope, which, I mean, hell, you might drop it. I mean, think of the worst possible scenario of something that you didn't have to get out. And especially if you're doing this for a living, if a customer doesn't want to buy a battery or an alternator, why should you be busting out your scope to check out his, you know, crank position sensor? Don't. Know what I mean? It got to end there. That would be the best advice. And if you notice, I'm telling you, watch EleGoo videos. Every time he brings in a car, he got that battery tester, he takes that printout and he puts it on the work order. I mean, that's covering your ass, you know. So if something cheap does that, you know, I'll take out the meter, I'll take out the scope because I got the time. But if it's something simple saying, hey, you know, I'm not chasing any ghost, if you know, if this isn't working, you know, and if you could do it that quick, yeah, it's a good thing. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and look forward to the next one. All right, guys, adios. All right, guys, there always is one more final note. I did find this, and also I use this for any more heat shrink. This I got from Lowe's. Anything I leave a link from Amazon. If you do buy anything from there, they do give me a commission. I have to say that, but I'm not leaving these there to sell their tools. It's just a thing. It would be hypocritical to have a channel about how to do things on a budget and then ask you to pay more in the link. That's just for reference. If you could find it cheaper, if you could find it on eBay, it's just there for reference. This came from Lowe's. This was a Benzomatic. I used this for a couple years. I feel I got my money out of it. I think it was 60, 70 bucks. It wasn't cheap, but I don't think it was anything more than what I paid for it. I melted the tip on it. I mean, the tip didn't last as long as the gun does. Still lights, use it for heat shrink. This one came from Harbor Freight. This, you know, exceeded what I thought it would. I thought it would leak after a while. I got quite a few years out of it. It still works and I still like it. But yeah, I did find this Iroda. You could see the size difference and it does get just as hot. So that's the only reason why I switched to that for a while. I like using different ones. I mean, naturally. I mean, and then this one, this is what's making me a believer over some of the gas ones. Us old school guys like the gas ones just because imagine that 20 watt being the biggest gun you could get other than like, you know, an actual soldering gun and having to use an extension cord. The gas gets hot faster and it kept up. There was no power loss because your heat source is with you. These things are starting to make a believer out of me. Lithium ion batteries, they changed everything. This is just a cheap Amazon Dewalt clone, I guess, if you want to call it. I don't know if Dewalt makes soldering irons, but it's a Dewalt clone battery. So this is, you know, 60 watts. I mean, that's pretty powerful. I mean, that's fine for what I'm running these at. I run this at 680 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know, it gets pretty hot. It does around where these are. I have no way, well, I don't measure these. I could measure them, but that it feels around 680 that I solder on the gas ones. So these are making a newer generation impression on me that I like these. And these are gas. I mean, it's your preference. One of the drawbacks of gas guns is you always have to watch them exhaust ports. You could melt wires while you're soldering one. So they always did have a drawback. This has less drawbacks. So this might be more of my garage gun now instead of any of the gas guns. It just is what it is. You know, that's the way it goes. But the other thing I wanted to mention about like building the things on the bench, if you've seen any of my videos using a snap-on burn analyzer, these still sell for over $100 on eBay. I wouldn't recommend anybody paying that much for them, but they are superior to a relay. If you're using a relay, that's great. You have to keep the resolution down a little bit, but do you know what's inside of it? The Fnirsi, the LCR meter, measure this is 720 microhenry inductance between them two inductors. These are inductors. To build your own on the bench, and if you could build something that would save you that much money and let you turn the resolution on your scope up. With a relay, you have to turn your resolution down to 150. This you could almost, you know, run close to 300 and without it getting blocky. Did Snap-on put some research into the value they use? I imagine these are in parallel. Parallel is safer, so that's where we're going to start. And we're going to see if we could get the same signal out of a very expensive sensor. We're going to build that on a bench, use it in the garage. All right, guys, that's it for good. All right, adios.